Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Okay, today's episode is going to be a little different. It is actually going to be about how to maintain a positive influence, whether you are looking for a job in medical coding or whether you are already a medical coder. These are just some tips on how to give that positive energy. Now, the reason that I want to talk about this today, this episode is inspired by a comment that I got. Now, this comment is I look at it like it's a teachable moment because I think that the viewer is very frustrated, but at the same time, I want to show how we can redirect that frustration. Okay, so the exact comment was, I was talking in this video about how I had been looking for a job for 2 months, okay? And if you've taken the time to watch any of my videos, you know that it took me a while. I will probably link one of them up in here about how I got my first job and how I struggled to get my first job and that it was not easy, okay? So even though, yes, I talk about it now and some people think that I make it look effortless, like I didn't have a hard time, I had a hard time and I struggled. So I just want to share my story. This is my story. Everybody's story in medical coding is going to be different in their road to being a medical coder. But all that aside, let me go ahead and get to the comment so we can start talking about it. Okay. The comment was 2 months, exclamation point, exclamation point. It's taken me 1 year and still no job. Glad you got lucky. So there's a little bit of, I feel a little sarcasm at the end. Glad you got lucky. Here's the thing. Whenever you are speaking anything out into the world, okay, when you walk into a room, what kind of energy are you bringing into this room? That's first of all, okay? So whenever I go anywhere, I am as positive as I possibly can. Now, yes, there are going to be times when you have a bad day and you're going to be frustrated and there's some things that are going to make you, real snappy at people and things like that. But here's the thing. Whatever words you're speaking out, you need to be sincere with those words because those words are going to come back to you, okay? Now, here's the thing. She said, glad you got so lucky. Was she really glad? Probably not. I'm thinking that she's not really truly glad because she's frustrated with her situation. I don't know what her situation is, and I do honestly feel for her because I understand that it's frustrating. Every place in America is different as far as like where you're going to be able to find a job. I am originally from a big city. I don't talk about my hometown very much, but I am originally from a big city. We actually have a medical center in this town. So, or in this city, because it is very large, okay? And the fact that we do have a medical center, we actually have multiple medical centers around the city. So was there more of a chance for me to get a job there? Absolutely. However, this is why I spent time applying at 20 and 30 different places, okay? But the fact that I had to do all of this legwork, it still didn't do me any good because I still needed experience. Now, my situation was the fact that I wanted to get a job because I was going to owe the state because the state had paid for me under this work rehabilitation as far as like occupations. People who were laid off got into this program. It's the WIA program, Workforce Innovation Act. And I went through that program, luckily, and it literally changed the trajectory of my life. I don't know where I would be if I wasn't a medical coder, honestly. But I went through the same thing that everybody goes through, that you need to have experience and you need to have this or that. There are some people that are very fortunate to be able to get job placement assistance right after they graduate school. And there's a lot of things there's so many different variables. But if the fact that you're not getting a job in 1 year is frustrating you, then maybe your approach needs to change. When you are applying, are you looking at your resume versus the job listing, okay? If you are matching in some of those things, make sure that you have it on your resume. I'm not telling you guys to lie about any skills or anything like that, but if you have skills that match that job listing, you need to have it in your resume. If you are going to regular coder meetings, like for the association coder meetings. AHIMA has them. They have local chapters. AAPC has them. They have local chapters as well. And AAPC has an awful lot of gatherings and get-togethers. I noticed that because you guys, I'm not an AAPC member, but I'll tell you what, you guys with AAPC, y'all are regularly meeting. I mean, there is just regular meetings all the time, and they're very prevalent. So it's just like, hey, that's a good place to network. Network. You have to be willing to reach out your hand and meet people. Now, the other ways of doing it, and like I've said, and I hope that this can sink in, go to other areas to try to get in if you can't get in, okay? If you can't get in being a medical coder, go to the medical billing companies and start your career there. You know, just start working with the billing side of the house. This way you have exposure to working with codes and coding, okay? That's what they're going to be looking for. And if you are really good at medical billing, and then all of a sudden somebody needs you to work in a doctor's office, hey, we need a really good biller, but we also need a medical coder. There you go. So there's a way of doing things that it's not just, you can't just get tunnel vision. Oh, I want to work in inpatient or I want to work outpatient. Don't just get tunnel vision and think you can't apply for any other positions, because yes, you can. There's also medical records. When you work at a hospital, that's a huge place to work, right? And anytime they have job listings or anytime they're making employment announcements, they're going to look at the candidates that are in-house first. You know why? It takes a lot of money to hire somebody. Think about it. The person has to go through a background check. They have to be drug tested. They have to go through all these other things. And the facility or the company or whoever's doing the hiring has to put out a lot of money to hire a candidate. This is why it's very important to put yourself in wherever you want to work in. If you want to work in a hospital and you are trying to get a job as a medical coder and they won't hire you because you don't have any experience, fine. Look for other positions that are in that hospital that you can later on transfer over to being a medical coder. Because guess what happens when you start working in a hospital and you're doing something else other than medical coding? You start to meet people. Do you know how many people I know in my hospital? I don't even work with half of these people, more than half of these people, and they still know who I am. Do you know why? Because I'm there. I'm actually there in the hospital meeting people, saying hello, shaking hands. Have I been offered other positions other than medical coding? Yes, I have. I have been offered a position as an instructor, and I turned it down because of the way that job was set up. I didn't like it. And I didn't like the fact that I wasn't going to have my own office, and I didn't like the fact that I wasn't going to be able to do all these other things that I normally do. There was going to be too many restrictions and too much control over what I did. And so I was like, nope, I will rather stay where I am in order to better serve the people that I choose to serve. There's a little bit more flexibility there. And the other job didn't pay any more money, so that had a lot to do with it too. Why go through all that and I'm not going to get paid more, please? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The fact is, you need to put yourself in a position where you are going to be surrounded by the people that you want to work around, okay? And again, going back to the fact that you may not be working as a coder, but maybe you're working as a secretary or something like that in this medical center. And then all of a sudden, oh, hi, are you the patient administration division person? Oh, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a medical coder. Oh, really? Well, what do you do? Oh, I'm working as a secretary right now because I don't have any experience. Well, you know, we're going to be looking for a medical coder soon. Oh, really? Do you think that, you know, that's how you network. You network that way. And you get to know people. Get to know people in medical records. Get to know people that work in patient administration division, because that's where your coders are housed in most facilities, okay? If you are living in a small town, you know there's going to be some concessions to living in a small town. There's going to be a limited pool of places you're going to be able to apply because you live in a small town. Now, you may ask, can I do remote coding? A lot of remote coding companies do not want to hire people who do not have experience. you are better off trying to get into a place where you can actually go in order to get a job, okay? Now, with remote coding, and if this is your first time trying to be a medical coder, you are going to want to surround yourself with other coders so that you can ask questions, because as much as you think you know from being in school and learning from the book, it's a whole nother ball game when you get out in the real world and you're coding. Oh, yes. And what I mean by the difference is a book is going to write everything in textbook. I mean, it is going to be dress, right, dress. It is going to be exactly the way that it should be, the proper documentation, the proper selection of this and the proper selection of that. When you get out into the real world, that's when you're going to be trying to herd cats, because they're going to be running everywhere. This provider does this provider does that, this provider does this provider does that. You're going to have to learn all of them. This is why I tell you all, I share my story. I share the things that I've gone through, because I don't see a lot of other medical coders doing this, okay? There is very few other medical coders on YouTube talking about the realness of what happens in the real world of medical coding. I'm sharing with you all my story, being very vulnerable. That one video that I do cry in that video, because I was so frustrated when I was remembering and flashing back to that time when I was applying for jobs and I was getting told no. It was very difficult. And plus I had all this other stuff going on. So while I make it look easy, or to some people I make it look effortless, I have a positive energy as well. I refuse to say to anybody words that I do not mean. So if, you know how people get sarcastic and they say, oh, have a nice day. No, I never say that unless I truly wish that person a nice day. Because I think that kind of sarcasm is not needed. It's not needed because I don't want somebody telling me something that is not genuine. You have to be genuine 100% of the time. And having a positive attitude and having a good support system was what really helped me. I thank God for my mom every single day because of the fact that she was there for me. She helped me. She supported me. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that are going through these things and they don't have a support system. Maybe they just have their kids and they're doing it for their kids. Whatever your motivation is, or whoever is motivating you, that's what you need to cling on to, okay? Don't get a negative attitude. Don't get a sarcastic attitude, because that negative and that sarcastic attitude is not going to help you. What does help you is when you have this positive energy, when you are genuinely excited for other people, when you are genuinely happy for other people. Now, there's people who they go and they take their test, and then some do good and some don't do as good, and they have to take it again. If they have to take it again, they have to take it again. But sometimes I would hear people who had to take the test again say, oh, so-and-so passed her test. I don't know how that person passed their test. Okay, why are you being like that? There's a reason that person passed their test. Now, everybody learns differently. There's an unknown reason why. But don't be like that towards somebody who was able to pass their test right away. If they were able to pass, they were able to pass. You need to look at yourself and look at what you're doing. If you don't like what's happening, as far as like, if you have taken a test and you can't pass, if you are looking for a job and can't find one, then you need to look at yourself and what are you bringing to the game? What can you change to get a new result? That's the key right there. What can you bring to change to bring a new result? Now, I shoot straight from the hip, and a lot of people don't like that. But I'm telling you guys this because I actually do care, and I actually do think that it's important, because sometimes when people are handheld and say, oh, you know, it's okay to be this way, it's okay to be that way. If you are not bringing that positive energy, then all this negativity that you've been experiencing is just going to keep cycling over and over and over again. If you are genuinely happy for somebody, tell them. If you are not, and you're feeling those horrible feelings of jealousy and maybe a little bit of hurt and disappointment because maybe you didn't pass or maybe you didn't get your job or whatever, don't say, oh, I'm so glad for you, or I'm so happy for you, and have that sarcastic tone. Don't do that, because putting that energy out is what's going to come right back. If you are sincere about this other person getting a job or getting this or getting that, then say, hey, that is really awesome. I'm so glad for you. This is your time. Congratulations. And be sincere about it. Because if you're not sincere, then you shouldn't say anything at all. I'm just saying. Now, this is going to probably rub some people the wrong way, but that's okay. Because I want you guys to think about what you're saying and what you're doing. The Arbinger Institute, when I went through the Arbinger Institute training, and they were saying things like, it's not about you, it's about the situation. So whenever I would run into problems with some providers who were perhaps not listening to something that I was sending out on email, and then I had said, okay, I need to change my approach, and I started going to them in person, and this changed the attitudes. This changed the vibe, because I brought myself in and changed the energy. Anytime you have the power of walking into a room and changing the energy of that room, then you also, and that's pretty powerful, right? That you have the power to walk into a room and change the energy of that room. You can make people laugh, you can make people smile, or you can say, oh no, here she comes. And some people have a joy about, making others feel bad and things like that. And this is when you as an individual can say, I don't need to deal with that. Me personally, I always will be nice to everybody until I don't need to be. Because of the simple fact that I do things, and I'm not going to allow anybody to change the way that I am, because I believe that I am a good person. And I do a lot to help others. I do a lot to be there for others and be supportive of others, because that's what I would want in my life. Do I always get that in return? No. Does it matter to me? No. Because I do this or I do my actions, whatever I do them for the people that it does matter to. The people that do need to hear it. The people that want to change for the positive and do more positive things. That's who I do it for. So, the lesson being, be that positive influence. If you are going down a path and it's not working, and oh gosh, I'm getting so many hits and I'm getting so many emotional tolls because I can't get a job, or I can't do this, then change your approach. What are you doing? Look at your resume. When you're taking your coding test exam, before your pre-employment coding test, are you passing it? That's another reason. Are you passing that test? Because if you're still looking for a job and you're not actively practicing in your book on how to code, that's a problem, because you're starting to forget things. Are you going through my Quiz Friday episodes and Answer Monday episodes so that way you can get some practice? My exercises are not official, but they are meant to help you, because these are things that I see and I make up that are from real life. Okay? I author these all myself. Are you passing those? Can you pass a drug screen? That's another reason too. And there's some places that will not hire medical coders who smoke. If you use tobacco, there's a lot of hospitals, especially around me, that are tobacco-free campuses. I work in a tobacco-free campus. You cannot have dip, you cannot have snuff, you cannot do vape, you cannot do cigarettes. And they will test you for that, because they don't allow it. So like I said, there's a myriad of reasons why you may not be getting that call back. How are you going in there? If you do get an interview, are you dressed up? Are you in slacks? Are you in a blouse? Because if you're trying to go in there and dress jeans, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. This is going to be the first impression your employer sees of you. You need to bring your A game. I'm just saying. And there's, like I said, going back to, I know it's the same circle, but you need to have that positive energy and that positive influence. And if you can't think something nice for somebody else, then don't say it. Don't say it, because that is going to come right back to you. That negative energy is going to come right back to you. And if you're going to be negative, that's what's going to come right back to you. This is why I encourage everybody to stay out of the Facebook medical coding groups, because a lot of times those are negative and they scare people. And then some people want to get into medical coding and they join these groups. And then guess what happens? Oh, well, I got scared out of trying to be a medical coder because this person said this and this person said that. And they said that all of our jobs are being sent overseas. They've been saying that for over 10 years. They've been saying that since I got in. And I've been successfully hired 4 separate times. And I'm still going strong. I don't see this going anywhere. So, really? But maintain that positive energy. And if you don't get hired for that one place, fine, go to another place. And just keep applying. Because there's tons of ways to get in. You just have to be positive about your journey. And this lady that has not been able to find a job for a year, there's a viewer that I know that got her first job after 7 years. Now, again, I don't know what happened with that situation, but she still kept on and she finally got in because that's her time. That's her personal journey. Not to say that it can take 7 years. That's an unusual circumstance, but it does take a while. Okay. And if you've been told, oh yes, it's very easy to get a job, I'm here to be real with you that it is a struggle, but it is possible. You have to be positive and you have to think positively. So just my advice. I'm going to be doing the demonstration. I'm going to be shooting the demonstration video on how I got to the pharmacy codes here in a little bit, and I'll be uploading that one. But I just wanted to go ahead and upload this one and let you guys know what I thought about that. Because I think it is a good teachable moment to say that if you are going through this right now, it's very easy to fall into that sarcasm and that, but turn it around and make it positive and have a good attitude. Go to a temporary agency. That's the thing that a lot of people don't know about either. Go to a temporary agency. That's how I got my first job. Okay. So go to a temporary agency and see what they have to offer. And if you're working for another job or whatever, then try to do it, when you have some days off, just try to do it that way. You have to dig your heels in and you have to push. And once you do, and you finally get that first job, then you need to do what you need to do as far as like making sure that you are the best possible medical coder that you can be. And that's just my advice. So I will go ahead and see y'all on the next video. But if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye.